What's up? Nick Hilton here with Mountain Bike Action, and right here we have got the all-new Pivot Firebird. I want to start off by talking about this specific colorway. This is the Purple Galaxy. It's their limited edition color. They're only making 200 of them, and it's a $200 upgrade. The other colors are YOLO, which is a yellow, and white gold. They've updated the geometry on this frame to make it a little more slack, but they've included 3 different adjustments that you can make on the frame to adjust and fine-tune your ride. First, it's got a geometry flip chip. This goes from high and low. It ships in the high position, which is good for most riding you would encounter, but the low position would be beneficial to lower the bottom bracket, slacken everything out just a little bit more for those super steep and technical descents. Next up, there's a flip chip for suspension progression. It's located at the bottom of the shock, right near the bottom bracket, and you can adjust to a forward or back position. And right now it's in the progressive setting, which is moved back towards the seat tube, towards the bottom bracket. But if you adjust that flip chip and move it forward, Pivot claims that this will give the shock a more linear feel, which would be good for maximum traction and a more plush feeling, whereas keeping it back in the progressive setting, would be more beneficial for those bigger impacts where you want that suspension to kind of ramp up. Now, the third way that you can adjust how the frame rides is with Pivot's patented swinger dropout system. This allows you to move the rear axle forward or back 8 millimeters, depending on which position you're already in, and this would effectively shorten or lengthen your wheelbase and chainstay length. Now, the bike ships with it in the longer setting. I haven't had enough time on the bike to play with it in the shorter setting. I'm definitely going to do that soon before, my full review on this bike. But I do know that moving the dropouts 8 millimeters forward, you will have to shorten the chain. Pivot even tells you you're going to have to use a different chain length depending on which position you're in the dropout system. So just know that unlike the other flip chips, it's not as simple as just a quick little adjustment and then you're good to go. You are going to have to swap out the chain and reset up your drivetrain. Now, also incorporated into this Firebird frame is Pivot's tool shed down tube storage. It's right here where you would mount a water bottle cage. You just flip this lever and then this plate comes off, and there are 2 storage bags in there. You can fit some snacks, some tools. Super beneficial to have. Inside of that storage system, it's pretty cool. There's cable clips. So if you're running a cabled derailleur setup, there's actually clips in there to clip the cable onto. That way they don't rattle inside of the frame. And so that way this whole storage unit is silent, which is super necessary. You don't want anything rattling around in the frame. Now, finishing off this frame, we've got a super durable down tube protection, for rocks and dirt and stuff that kicks up, but the protection actually continues all the way up almost to the steer tube, and this is so you can throw your bike on a tailgate and not worry about getting the paint all scuffed up, because let's be honest, who wants to scuff up this Purple Galaxy color?
Feels great so far. Would love to, get in some more rocky sections for sure. Next ride, do some more rocks, some steeper stuff, but it was flowy, maneuverable in the tight turns. Sometimes you felt how big the bike was, but otherwise, even all that sitting down and needing to pedal, it was getting it. It's not a cross-country bike for sure, but even with the shock and in the open position, we were moving, and I'm a little out of breath.
like I said earlier, I haven't been able to spend a ton of time on this bike. I just built it up a few days ago, and I have been dealing with a bunch of bad weather. But from what I've ridden so far, I'm super impressed. The first trail that I rode it on is a lot closer to a cross-country trail than an enduro trail. And so I was really able to put how this bike pedals to the test. And one thing that I really liked about it, one, I never even put the shock into firm because, you know, it's a very flowy up and down trail, so I don't have time to just keep flicking it. And it pedaled great wide open, and I noticed that I could go from, you know, standing and pumping, pop the dropper post up, be in a nice, comfortable, upright, seated position, and pretty much spinning the whole trail. And I was able to weave through the trail sitting up, pedaling, feeling super efficient, and then I would just drop the dropper when it got a little bit more downhill, and keeping the speed and not sacrificing that power when I was pedaling to the suspension. It was no problem. I was very impressed. I was afraid that it was going to be just a ton of work, but it was really, really efficient. And earlier today, I went and pedaled it in 40-mile-an-hour winds. The wind was actually so strong that when you were pedaling into the wind, you almost couldn't breathe because it was like putting your head out of a car window. The bike climbed so well on that steep stuff, and you know, there's even some sections where like it'll do a 180 switch back and get really steep, and it just felt so good. And it was not efficient like a cross-country bike, of course, but it was good. And now for descending, of course, I can't wait to get this thing on some super aggressive terrain. Haven't really gotten the opportunity yet. I got to ride it on some flowy single track, you know, a little bit of rocks here and there, a little bit of chatter. So I got to figure out how the bike performs on the small bumps and the chatter, and it's so smooth. It almost has like you're planted in the ground and yet you're like floating above the ground. It's a really hard thing to explain, but it's so plush on those small bumps that almost felt like I was floating through the terrain, which is awesome. And yet it still had that support when you'd go to push into a corner or push into the face of a jump. You weren't hitting the bottom of the shock or the fork. So honestly, like I can't wait to go ride it on some more aggressive stuff. So this bike comes in 5 different sizes, extra small through extra large. You can get it in either a 29 front and rear build, or you can get it in a 29-27 build, which is what I have right now, the mixed wheel setup. And the builds start at $64.99 and they go up to $11,499. They do offer the paint upgrade for $200 to get the Purple Galaxy way. Otherwise, there is also the Fox Live valve upgrade, which is $2,200 upgrade. So there's a wide range of options. There's 3 Shimano builds, 3 SRAM builds, plus the mixed wheel options and the random little upgrades that you can get. There's a ton of customization available if you want to buy this bike. And again, the frame has got 3 distinct adjustment points to fine tune the ride, and I can't wait to get out on it more and present you guys with a real full review and really kind of run you in depth of this Team XX Eagle transmission build that I've got right here. It's gonna be fun, but thanks for tuning in. This just dropped today, so make sure you go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. We'll see you in the next one.